Late one summer morning in July 1971, a young woman named Kathleen Mayer drove her little blue Volkswagen to Antelope Island State Park, just outside Salt Lake City, Utah. She never returned. Her car sat abandoned on the lakeshore, with the engine still warm, the door locked, and her purse, complete with keys, resting on the passenger seat. Kathleen's husband, Terry Rasmussen, told Utah police she must have run off on one of her impromptu trips or left him for someone else. Friends who last spoke to her said the opposite. She was happy, excited to build a life with Terry. Despite a week-long search of the island and shoreline, no trace of Kathleen emerged. Without a body or witness, the case went cold, and so did Rasmussen. By 1978, Terry Rasmussen had vanished too, resurfacing in California under the name Bob Evans. Construction crews in Chico remembered Bob, a quiet man, hard-working, polite. No one knew he was wanted for a suspected homicide 40 years earlier in Utah. In late 1981, Denise Beaudin, a 27-year-old single mother in Manchester, New Hampshire, struck up a friendship with Bob Evans. Denise's 6-month-old daughter, little Emily, was bundled in her arms when they met. Within weeks, both mother and child had disappeared. Denise's family feared the worst, but again, no body, no proof to confirm their fears. 5 years later, in June 1986, a malnourished toddler was found wandering the roadside in Lassen County, California. The girl, bruised, shaken, her diaper over 2 sizes too small, clutched a single stuffed bear. She whispered one name: Evans. Investigators traced the alias back to Chico, where they arrested Bob Evans for child abandonment and abuse. He pleaded guilty, served 2 years, and walked free in 1988. Denise's fate still remained a mystery. In spring 1985, still calling himself Bob Evans, Terry married again, this time to schoolteacher Karen Chandler, and welcomed his daughter Crystal. Friends said Karen adored Bob, and little Crystal lit up every time he walked through the door. On June 1st, 1985, Karen told a colleague she and Crystal were headed east to visit family. They packed the car, waved goodbye, and simply vanished. Their home, a tidy ranch house on East Avenue, remained stocked with clothes, toys, even Crystal's favourite blanket. No ransom note, no forwarded mail, no apologies. Investigators filed another missing persons report, and again Bob Evans was gone. On January 25th, 1985, Park Ranger Gil Lawton trudged through knee-deep snow on a maintenance patrol in Bear Brook State Park, New Hampshire. Near an old logging road, he spotted a rusted 55-gallon barrel half buried in the earth. Expecting animal remains, Gil pried open the lid, only to find the canvas-wrapped legs of a young woman covered in lime dust. Within hours, detectives had uncovered victim A, a woman in her late 20s, and child A, a little girl. Both had blunt force trauma to the skull. Their hands were bound. Coroners estimated they died weeks apart, sometime in autumn of 1984. Despite fingerprints, dental records, and missing bulletins, neither identity could be established. They became Jane Doe and Baby Doe A, 2 of New Hampshire's most haunting mysteries. 15 years later, on June 10, 2000, a second barrel emerged just 75 yards away. Inside lay victim B, another adult female, and child B, a toddler. The same canvas, the same lime dust, the same brutality. Detectives realised they likely faced a serial killer, but with no suspect, no names, and no clues. Bear Brook fell silent once more. By 2002, Rasmussen was living in Norfolk, Virginia, under the name Curtis Kimball. That December, he met 29-year-old Eunsoon Jun, an immigrant working as a caregiver. Neighbours reported that they sometimes heard raised voices. Eunsoon's friends noted she seemed anxious. In June of that same year, one of Eunsoon's friends reported her missing, leading to an investigation. Her mummified and dismembered body was later found in the garage of their residence, buried under hundreds of pounds of cat litter, her skull fractured by repeated blows from a blunt object. Kimball had fled, leaving his wallet and a trail of incriminating blood spatter. 2 months later, in early 2003, Virginia authorities arrested him. He stood trial on first-degree murder charges, was convicted, and given 15 to life. While incarcerated, Kimball underwent fingerprinting and DNA collection. His file was officially closed as a violent offender when he died of natural causes on December 28, 2010. Still serving his sentence, authorities convinced his past was buried forever. But was it? For 4 long decades, Rasmussen's trail stretched across 6 states: Utah, New Hampshire, California, Massachusetts, Virginia, and Colorado, collecting wives, children, strangers, and the nameless victims in Bear Brook. Yet no law enforcement agency saw the full picture until 2017, when advancements in forensic genetic genealogy changed everything. In Concord, New Hampshire, the state attorneys general partnered with Parabon Nanolabs and Bode Technology. Technicians painstakingly extracted degraded DNA from the bone marrow of the Bear Brook victims. They built genetic profiles and, in a bold move, uploaded anonymized data to GED Match, a public genealogy database. Within weeks, 4th and 5th cousins emerged. Genealogist Coraline Moran and Detective Paul Holes followed these family trees upstream, through census records, marriage certificates, newspaper archives, to identify common ancestors and narrow down potential branches. By February 2018, victim A was named Marion Janet Mansfield, missing since November of 1980 from Ipswich, Massachusetts. Child A was identified as her daughter, Sarah Sally Doherty, age 3. Victim B was Christine Burkholder, missing since late 1984 from Maine. Child B was her daughter, just a toddler. Meanwhile, Utah authorities exhumed skeletal remains previously thought to be an unknown female from Antelope Island State Park. That DNA profile matched the same family branches as Janet Mansfield, linking all the victims to Rasmussen. The hunt for Rasmussen's fingerprints led detectives back to a 1994 traffic stop in Grand Junction, Colorado, when Bob Evans had been arrested for a minor violation and fingerprinted. In May 2018, investigators ran those prints through CODIS against latent prints lifted from the barrel lids at Bear Brook. The match was undeniable. Next, they petitioned the federal court to gain access to Curtis Kimball's DNA from prison medical records. That profile matched crime scene DNA from New Hampshire and the same lineage as Kathleen Mayer's exhumed remains in Utah. By mid-2018, prosecutors in New Hampshire, Massachusetts, Maine, Utah, California, and Colorado all agreed Terry Peder Rasmussen was indeed the Chameleon Killer. Rasmussen never faced trial for the Bear Brook murders or the disappearances of Meyer, Boudoir, Chandler, and Crystal. He died 8 years before the genetic breakthroughs. Still, each jurisdiction issued formal findings. In New Hampshire, the Attorney General publicly closed the Bear Brook cases, naming Rasmussen as the perpetrator. The families received official death certificates and closure in 2019. In Salt Lake County, Utah, the district attorney declared that Kathleen Mayer's disappearance was a homicide by Rasmussen. In both California and Colorado, civil suits brought by Denise's and Karen's families against the Rasmussen estate yielded settlements and publicly recorded findings of wrongful death by Rasmussen's hands. And in Virginia, Rasmussen's murder conviction for Eunsoon Jun remained. Though he died behind bars for one brutal murder, Rasmussen's full scope of crimes, 6 confirmed homicides, and at least 2 more presumed victims, could finally be told. Terry Rasmussen's life of aliases exploited the fractured data systems, jurisdictional silos, and less sophisticated forensics of that time. He built families only to shatter them in the most horrific of ways. He abandoned children, hid bodies, and trusted no one could follow his trail, and his assumption was almost correct. But dedicated cold case detective work and forensic genetic genealogy turned fragile bone fragments into names and lineages, giving closure to families once resigned to flimsy, runaway theories. This case shined a light into how interagency collaboration is vital to solving crime. Rasmussen slipped across state lines wearing numerous masks, and only when the agency's silos fell did the full horror of his life emerge. The persistence of loved ones and diligent detectives kept these cold cases alive. Denise's relatives, Karen's friends, and Janet's sister refused to let disappearances become footnotes, and their advocacy no doubt helped to fuel the science that law enforcement depends upon today. And we cannot forget the human cost. Consider the plight of Janet Mansfield, dreaming of a happy life for Sally, only to end up in a barrel. Her story lost in the northern woods for 38 years. Or little Emily, abandoned at 3 months, her mother never to be found. Or Eunsoon Jun, a caregiver beaten and murdered by someone she trusted. Rasmussen's disappearance act ended in his greatest escape from justice, his death. 8 years too soon for prosecutors, but just in time for justice of a different kind, the indelible record of his crimes, and the restoration of his victims' names. If today's episode moved you, or you'd like me to discuss more cases involving forensics or cold case investigations, let me know in the comments. And don't forget to subscribe. Your support helps me bring these dark stories into the light. You can also hit the notification bell to get informed when future stories get published. Until then, stay safe. And remember, sometimes the most evil acts wear the most ordinary faces. Until next time,